Thanks so much for joining us for This Week in Jacksonville Business Edition. Our very special guest today, Vickie Cavey, the CEO of JEA. I've gotten to know you over the years prior to your current role with JEA. But one thing I tell people is I've never met anyone so passionate about what JEA does, and certainly your love for the city of Jacksonville. So just a short way to get into this interview. Tell people who you are and why do you love JEA in Jacksonville so much?
Well, I love that you know that. That's really nice.
It stands out, yeah.
That's really nice. Well, who I am. I grew up here in Jacksonville, Florida, went to Sandalwood High School, went to the University of Florida, majored in mechanical engineering because I had an outstanding math teacher at Sandalwood High School who told me I should be an engineer.
How about that?
And if Mrs. Ng told me to be an engineer, gosh darn it, I'm going to be an engineer. But Kent, I didn't even know what they did. She also suggested systems analyst, but that didn't even exist. So you go to the library, you look up the starting salaries, you say, yeah, I can do that. So
One of those looks nice, right?
It was, and I had watched my mom struggle. My mom was, my father died when I was very young, so she raised 5 kids by herself,
wow.
Was a waitress. So I come from a strong family, so to speak, strong mom. But anyway, so I go to Florida, and then I got an opportunity to, someone told me you should go interview at JEA for a summer job. And I did. And we were building the St. Johns River Power Park, that lovely coal-fired plant out on the north side. It was the joint project with FP&L. I just thought that was the most amazing thing ever. So after I graduated, I came to JEA and started working at JEA. And you know, the public service aspect of it, you are really serving your community, touches me, number one. Number two, it gave me a wonderful life. I worked for some of the best CEOs and with some of the best colleagues you can imagine who really have a servant's heart and are doing it for the right reasons, and not just for the almighty dollar to make money for stockholders. That's what public utilities do.
Well, so fast forward through your career, you exited, you stopped working for JEA, and then you came back because one of those CEOs that I think you probably liked, Paul McElroy, said, come back and help out during really kind of a time of crisis.
It was. I had left in about 2016 after 32 years of service. And the reason I left, Paul would tell you this and I'll tell you, is because I felt something was going on, you know, just something was changing. It felt like I was working for a political organization and not a utility, an independent utility. And sure enough, a couple of years later, something happened and Paul left. And then something else happened and Paul, myself, and a couple of other folks went back in after the Aaron's-on issue and stayed for a while and helped hire Jay Stowe. And I got the privilege to work with Jay for a little while, and then I left. Fast forward 3 years later, and I'm back again.
Was it unexpected that Jay Stowe left and the timing as he did? Because that's when you were invited, hey, come be our interim, and now in the last several months, our full-time permanent CEO.
Yes. I was at first invited in to be a liaison for the board. And that lasted just a few weeks. And what I did was did a little research for the board and talked to them about some issues. And if you recall, there were a few things going on that were in the paper at that time. And some of that surprised the board members. So I knew them. Most of that board was the same board that I had worked for before. And I knew several of them from the decades of time that I've spent at JEA. So it was trusted. And so they asked me to come in, and I did. And then Jay and the board decided mutually to part ways. And then the chair said, I'm going to put you in. And it was a little shocking, you know, after having been gone. But things don't change too fast in the utility world. So then I went in, and now they asked me to take the interim off, stay permanent. So now I'm there for 3 years with 2 one-year renewals. And I'm fortunate.
How do you feel about that? Going back to what you just told me about, graduate from University of Florida, engineering. I guess I'll try a summer job at JEA. Here it is. Now you're leading JEA. Wow, right? You've told me it's an honor, so I figure
it's beyond an
extraordinary.
honor.
Yeah.
You know, there are 2,400 people that work there that serve over 1 million people, 24/7, with services you cannot live without. If you don't have water, you don't live. Clean water.
Yeah.
If you don't have electricity, nothing works. I mean, just look at what happens around the world when they lose power. And it's an extreme honor, and I'm so privileged to have been kind of an entrepreneur within JEA. I always did different things. I worked in almost every area of that company, except for transmission and distribution, but we got great folks there. but I got such a broad sense, and I worked for so many great CEOs. Royce Lyles, who took us from the highest rates in the country to the lowest. Amazing man. Then came Walt Busells. What a forward thinker he was. Learned so much from him. Then we had Jim Dickinson. Worked for him, ran customer service, loved it. Then we had Paul McElroy, outstanding. You know, then I left, came back in, and it's an honor to represent and work for and with all the people at JEA and for this community.
Yeah. I think it's showing through. Like I said earlier, you're going to meet somebody today who loves JEA and loves Jacksonville like no other. I wanted to talk about some current events. One of the things we want to get to is maybe some preparation because hurricane season is coming very soon. Just recently, we heard some conversation, and then, hey, there are going to be rate hikes for JEA. Maybe explain some of that, because people, say, hey, at any time my bills are going up, it's a bad thing. But the bills haven't gone up in a long time for JEA. Is that accurate?
That is accurate. When it comes to water and wastewater, JEA took that over from the city in 1997. Didn't raise the rates for a long time. Raised them a little. We have not raised those rates in 13 years, Kent. 13 years. We've changed the structure so that it makes minimal impact on people, especially those of a lower income. And the average bill probably went up about 56 cents a month, average. And our average is like 6,000 gallons. 6,000 gallons a month. If we had kept up with inflation, your bill would have gone up $32 a month.
Wow.
And you know, Jacksonville is growing, and we also serve St. Johns County and parts of Nassau County. And I think I saw a recent news article where Jacksonville was the 4th largest or fastest growing city. We've been discovered.
So when there's growth like that, what's the impact to the utility? You have to grow with it, right?
We have to grow with it. We have to build new plants. There are some regulatory pressures on the water side. We can't do surface water discharge anymore, but we've got some great plans on how to handle that. That means we can't pump treated water into the river by date certain. So we're handling that. We've put reuse water in, down in the south part of the county and wherever we can, so we're not wasting the Florida aquifer potable water that we are so fortunate to have. I mean, a lot of places use surface water or desalination, which costs a fortune. We are so fortunate here. On the electric side, we're growing. Most of it is from the rate increases on the electric side, which came to about 3.7%, that just went up in April, which is about $4 a month. That came from, to be honest, from Vogtle.
Okay. Something I was going to bring up. Plant
really?
Vogtle is the nuclear power plant in Georgia that JEA has helped finance. You've got a contract to work with them over the next several years, right?
20 years.
Yeah.
We buy about 206 megawatts from there. It is actually owned by Southern, but MEAG, Municipal Electric Authority of Georgia, another public utility, had rights to purchase some of that. And we chose in 2008 to sign a contract to buy 206 megawatts. Yeah. Well, so a lot of stuff happened.
Was that a good idea at the time? Because 2008, then a whole bunch of things changed in the economy and the recession and all of that.
A lot. Was it a good idea at the time? Yes. Plus, don't forget, greenhouse gases was coming. Nuclear is clean. It was the first nuclear unit built in the United States in decades. First. And we had an opportunity to get some of that as clean power, so we did. And some of it, things happened that you could never imagine. Westinghouse went bankrupt. Westinghouse. I mean, that's a black swan event you could have never thought of. I think it came in, I can't remember if it was 7 or 8 years late. It was originally budgeted at $18 billion, came in at $35 billion.
Twice the cost almost.
Twice. Yeah. JEA had planned for $1.4 billion of cost to us in addition to the power. Came in at $3.5 billion. So in simple terms, we had to take out a mortgage to pay for that increase in cost, for the capital cost to build it.
And there was no way, legally, there was no way to say, hey, we changed our mind. We don't want to do what we said we'd do in 2008, right?
I know that you did your homework, and you know that JEA tried that. We went to court and tried, and the judge ruled, no, you can't get out of it. And you know, MEAG and others, they had already bought the bonds to build it, and that train had left the station,
Yeah.
and so they wouldn't let us out of it. So you carry on.
Yeah.
So we carry in debt service and mortgage payments about $170 million a year for Vogtle.
Yeah. Is that something that, hey, we can still see the positive, the clean energy that's coming our way? Where's the silver lining, I guess?
Well, the silver lining is 206 megawatts of carbon-free. I won't say clean, I'll say carbon-free emissions. So we've done that. We're part of the first project like that in decades. And nuclear will be and is a hot topic right now. And if we want low emissions power, reliable power, nuclear is the future. Decades, but it is the future.
Let me shift the topic just a little
Sure.
bit here. So we know that hurricane season is going to be here sooner than we ever want it. It always is. Hurricane season beginning in June, and then stretches that till end of November, really. JEA is so important to people being able to get through whatever happens in hurricanes, whether they hit us directly or not. There are always impacts with power loss. Sometimes there's flooding. I mean, what's your word to folks right now in preparing for the inevitable, even if, crossing our fingers, there's no direct impact here from hurricanes or big storms, just to be ready for whatever could happen this summer?
Well, first you need to download the Jax Ready app, that is the city's app, and then JEA's app, because we can use that to communicate with you wherever you are, via your phone. Be prepared, have your kits ready to leave. We have some information on our website. Be prepared to evacuate if you have to. Have a communications plan with your family. JEA works all year long preparing for storms. It's part of our DNA in Florida, and we do it so well. I didn't realize that until I got in the CEO seat, how unique we are. When you go and meet with other CEOs around the country, they don't have an emergency operations center that runs 24 hours, all the time. They don't have folks who are 100% dedicated to that. We continually train our employees. We continually are trimming trees. We have a pole replacement. When it comes to water, we have really built up our water system, meaning we put some backup generators for our pump stations, because if we lose power, the wastewater doesn't get pumped to treatment. And the other thing is we have so much water coming in from the rain. So we are always prepared, and I've got to give a compliment, if I can, to our city EOC and Andre Ayub and Chief Powers, TK Waters, Mayor Deegan. I was thrown into the fire last year. We had to activate that EOC, the city EOC, 4 times. Remember Debbie, Milton, a couple of other storms I can't even remember. And our response is unbelievable. And the way we can handle and communicate. We bring together all the city partners. A lot of investor-owned utilities aren't brought into that fold like JEA is. We have world-class emergency road access teams that was created by JFRD here to go out and clean the roads. We partner with them. It is a tremendous asset to this community how well we work together, all the agencies.
Speaking with some of those people involved there, it is about the communication and being able to have your utility with the other first responders and everything. That does make a difference in how you can react to damage that's happening.
And I'll tell you too, we take care of 8,000 miles of transmission and distribution power lines.
I'm going to let that sink in for a second.
You heard that. You can drive from Jacksonville to Seattle, back to Jacksonville, and back to Seattle.
Do it again, yeah.
That's what those men and women take care of.
Wow.
There's about less than 300 of them responsible for that. I have such respect for our line workers, who, by the way, are some of the best in the country, and have the trophies to prove it this year. 24/7, leaving their families who are dealing with the storm as well and may have had to evacuate and have no power. And then mutually going down and helping other cities after we've recovered here. And we're fortunate we haven't had a big hurricane since '64. We haven't had a direct hit since '64.
Exactly. We've had some hurricanes that got us a little bit there, Irma and Matthew and what have you, but yeah, no direct hits. So again, we're crossing our fingers here. If you're just tuning in, this is Vickie Cavey. She's the CEO of JEA. Let's talk a little bit about water.
Yes.
You told me there's this H2.0 purification program. So I like the little acronym here, H2.0. Tell us what this is, what this purification program is.
H2.0 will be a demonstration facility off of Southside Boulevard, probably open in maybe a little over a year. It is a facility where we are taking reclaimed water, putting it through massive filtration and purification and ultraviolet light, re-injecting minerals to do drinking water. We're going to be able to produce 1 million gallons a day. We're not going to use it for drinking water. It's a demonstration project, but the rest of it, other than what we save for demonstration, will be deep well injected into the aquifer and kind of speed up the process of recharging the aquifer. We get all of our water 100% from the aquifer. We just pump it out, aerate it, a little chlorine, and send it on its way. It's amazing. So this facility will be a demonstration facility, open to the public, to educate them, because that is a finite resource. Our aquifer is a finite resource. And we've got to come up with ways, since we're growing, to be good stewards of that and have alternative ways to provide water.
Intentionally, you're saying we've got to recharge that. We've got to make sure that we replenish what we're taking from the aquifer.
And we have other ways to do that as well. We have another project coming. This is a demonstration facility for long out in the future. It's the only one in Florida. It will be unbelievable.
You're pretty excited about this.
I'm very proud of it. And the people that have been working on it started back in 2014. I think that's when we started talking about H2.0. You know, it's kind of a cool name too, H2.0.
Well, so this is the demonstration of it. What is the program that you've got there? You gave me some resources here about replenishing the aquifer.
That's a different project.
Yeah.
Another thing that we're doing to help the aquifer is there's some regulations that we have to comply with about surface water discharge, meaning not pumping treated water into the river or another surface water body. That's a state rule. Okay. And we have worked with the Florida Department of Environmental Protection, the St. Johns River Water Management District, the Suwannee River Water Management District, and other utilities in Northeast Florida on a program that we got through the House and the Senate, the State House and Senate. We're just waiting on the governor's sign-off.
So that was just recently, the legislative session from March, April through May.
Passed unanimously, and thank you to our Duval delegation who supported it. And it is really a DEP project, but we are providing, get this, Kent, 40 million gallons a day to help pump it. We're going to be pumping it across the state, out west, to recharge the Ichetucknee, help with the minimum flow levels. You're from Ichetucknee, Suwannee River, you know how that, we've been talking about that a long time. And I don't want to get into too much technical detail, but the neat thing is you're pumping water, you're creating kind of a wetland where some of the elements can evaporate or whatever, and then pump it again to the recharge area for the aquifer in North Florida. And then it will percolate down. This has been done on small scales and elsewhere in the world, but here it's going to be big, and they kind of almost turn into a park. Waterfowl love it, birds love it. There's a small one somewhere in Florida, I can't recall the name right now, where it was a park. So that's a win-win-win for everyone.
So just waiting on the governor to say yes, and then how soon does that
That's a decades-long project.
Okay.
Decades-long. We'll be pumping, to build pipes underground going 40 miles or wherever, because you have to pick where you're going to recharge. And the DEP is really the lead on this, but it will save our customers a lot of money because we won't have to be going alone on this. We won't have to be doing deep well injection with some reuse. I mentioned that earlier, I think. So we won't have to inject water that we can no longer discharge. So it's a real benefit, and we're sharing those costs with the DEP, water management districts, and the other utilities. So it could save us millions and millions of dollars.
Let's wrap up here. I know a few years ago with the prior CEO who is no longer in town or what have you, there was a lot of discussion. Hey, what's the future of public utilities? Are they viable? Are they going to make it? A lot of discussion then. How do you feel some 6 or 7 years later about the future of JEA as a public utility for Duval County and surrounding areas?
That's a great question. That's a great question. Public utilities, public power specifically, brings an awful lot to every community. I think that was I hate to use this word, but kind of a false narrative that was created. The whole death spiral thing and what you're referring to, it was just so unfortunate and inaccurate. And I think that's all I'll say about that. But public power is strong, JEA is strong. We're proud to serve our customers, and we do our very best to keep the rates as low as we can and make sure that you have affordable, reliable, and sustainable power. It's a three-legged stool.
Yeah.
And it's a balance act. And you know, utilities are not cheap.
I'm sure it's not easy. Yeah, not cheap and not easy, right?
Not cheap and not easy, but man, we have a great team. We take it very serious, as I'm sure you can imagine, and we get the job done. And I couldn't be more proud to work for my city and for the people that I serve, which are the customers and also the people that work at JEA.
Vickie Cavey, the CEO at JEA, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it. And thank you for watching and listening to our podcast, This Week in Jacksonville Business Edition. Go ahead and make sure you like, subscribe, follow wherever you get your podcasts. New episodes come out every Thursday at 9 a.m.